I always say this to new estheticians or new business owners or new esthetician, solo esthetician business owners. If it's not moving and you're not getting booked, you've got to pick it apart and you've got to be raw with yourself. Are your treatments good enough? Why are they
Mhm.
not coming back? There's a list of things that you wouldn't want to admit if you were to really look at.
Welcome to How She Built It. I'm Carrie Augustine Boyle, CEO of Automate and Elevate. Around here, success isn't accidental, it's built. This girl has been coined by many as the book solid esthetician. She's been in business for over a decade, built a loyal client base, created a spa that stays consistently booked. But what really caught my attention was how she built a Black Friday promotion that doesn't just create a busy weekend, it creates a ripple effect of new clients, memberships, referrals, and repeat bookings that carries her business the entire year. That momentum didn't happen by accident. I am so excited to unpack how you built that. But before we get into it, tell us how you got started. Bring us back to the beginning. How'd you even get into aesthetics?
Hi, Carrie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
I'm glad you invited me because I was waiting for that invitation. So I finally
Well,
got it.
I'm so excited to have your British accent here for my audience.
I
This
have an
is one of my
accent.
biz besties. So, yes,
I think I sound American, but that's okay. So I
she
started my
thinks.
business over a decade ago. I started as an esthetician even longer than that. And I actually have always had facials, always had skincare from a young age. I've had, good treatments, bad treatments, weird treatments. And after having so many treatments all across the world, it was time for me to get on the other side of the bed, if you know what I mean. My goal, I think, in my head was like, I've had all these facials, all this skincare, and I've had the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want to take all of that and create like the best facial ever. I always
Mhm.
had that in my mind. I never thought I'd have the opportunity. I didn't have the opportunity in England. I've been here in the US for 21 years. Um, listen, opportunities always knocking. And when I was having a facial here in St. Petersburg, Florida, about 15 years ago, I had the best facial I'd ever had, and, the lady, the esthetician at the time, she was kinda coming to the end not the end, but kind of the latter part of her career. She had a little spa, and, I talked to her, and she said, "Why don't you go to esthetician school?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I can. I've got a kid. I don't know how much it costs." Everything had to align, the timing, the money, been able to go to full-time school. Yeah, well, the timing did align. So when my daughter went to kindergarten, the hours were like 8 to 3:30 for her. Found the school. The school was 9 to 3. So I took that window of opportunity to do school, and I was lucky enough to have a job with the lady that give my facials when I graduated from school. And so I did that. So I learned from the best. She was a solo esthetician, very experienced. And I stayed with her not as long as I thought. It was a little less than a year. Just, things just didn't work out how I'd expected. And I decided to get a little room for myself. I had no expectations. I had no plan to build a business. I just thought, I'm going to get myself a little room. Doesn't matter what size it is. I'll get my steamer and my bed and I'll perform the magic. So I had a couple of clients followed me and I didn't have too many because I hadn't been doing it too long and I was, pretty new at the time. And then it just, one client is another client and it just kept
Mhm.
building. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now what? Now I need a bigger room. So I moved to a bigger room. And then this is the best bit. The lady that I
Mhm.
worked for when I left school, she moved from her space and the people that she rented off reached out to me. So I'm actually working in the place where I originally started for this lady. So
No
she
way, it
left
went full circle.
full circle. I started off with one little room, knocked another room in, and now I have 4 rooms in a reception area, which is just nice. It's enough. It's a lot, but it's just nice and it's beautiful. So that's how I got started. There you
I
go.
Girl, I feel like I'm so happy I had you on because I didn't even know your story to how you started and how you got into it and, got inspired by someone that you got a facial from, literally. That's kinda cool.
Like, yeah, literally. I actually I don't get chance to say that, or tell the story, and when as I'm
Mhm.
saying it, it's interesting for me to listen to as well. So,
Yeah, you're probably getting, like, goosebumps. Wow, like
yeah, so long
right?
ago. Yeah,
That's
weird.
amazing, I'm so proud of you.
Well,
Alright,
thank you.
so this actually goes hand in hand with what I was gonna ask you next. You have your little room, you're starting to get clients. What did it look like in those early days? How did you do it back then?
Yeah, I mean, I started to get a little vision. I kind of my husband laughs at me, but I follow my feelings, like it feels good. I
Mhm,
like to pursue things. And I was, so new, so young and so new at that time. And I was very drawn to certain aspects. I'm not going to get deep into them because they might not mean anything to anybody. You can have a plan for your business, but you've got to be prepared to divert and, take some turns, unexpected turns and stuff like that. And, um, I thought I'd start off with the facial. I was leaning a little bit more toward holistic at that time.
mhm,
So I had to be careful in that industry. You don't want to be working out your scope. So I just wanted to use what I got, use all my experience from the treatments I've had, create that amazing facial, and just build from there. At that time, you probably remember about just over 10 years ago, people were still using appointment books, writing down
mhm.
their appointments, the hairstylists still do that, they love it, don't they? And I was like, "No, I'm gonna get with it, and I'm gonna get an appointment system." And I got an appointment system, it was free, so, this appointment system, Fresher was just very new, and it was free, so I thought, "I'm gonna just dabble in their capabilities so I can create some online booking." I was like, "Wow, this is, like, so technical, this is great." But I really enjoyed that part, so I thought, "Okay, I'm gonna create this amazing facial, but I'm gonna create this easy experience for people to be able to book their appointment." And now it might seem a little bit weird me saying that now, but back then, that was a big deal, because it used to be call, and if you're a solo esthetician, how are you gonna answer the phone if you're with a client?
The
You
client.
have to leave a message. And my dad always taught me about, customer care, customer service, always being able to talk to somebody. So me not being able to answer the phone, it's weird talking about this, Carrie. That's where my mind was. And I didn't realize that that's where my mind was, that that's what I wanted. I wanted to create how can I do this alone, but yet make it easy for clients to book. And I do believe it was that automation of me doing that at that time that helped it snowball faster, to what it is today.
Okay.
Interesting, isn't it?
Right? It's interesting
Right?
as you're unpacking it and reliving it and,
Mhm,
telling the story. So
mhm.
let me ask, how did you have this new shiny new object, right? This
Yeah,
shiny new booking system.
yeah.
How did you fill your schedule back then? How were you essentially getting the clients into there?
I gotta be honest, I hauled ass. I mean, I was learning along the way. I have no idea how to run a business, almost I had no business running a business, but I was having fun with it. I was lucky enough to have the time to do this as my kid was in kindergarten. Um I did it. Obviously I got to know the system. I got to get a little bit more active on social media. Never visually myself at that time, but got to know the capabilities of social media. I feel like it really it wasn't super big till kind of like
That's what I was
2020.
gonna say, it's probably like the perfect storm. Like you were like coming into it as social media
It
was
was timing, and I was kinda, like, at the front of it, I feel,
Mhm. Mhm.
without me knowing what I was doing. I was just doing it, not realizing the impact. So did that, but I would physically go out places too. I'll go set up my table. I set up my table at a local elementary school giving away free eyebrow waxes. I mean, how crazy is that? But listen, if you're in it to win it, you do what it takes. And I did everything. I did events, I got pens printed out, menus printed out, literally would go out hand in hand. Nothing came from them. It all came from the appointment referrals. But, you know, you've
So what
got to
I'm
do
hearing is that you hustled a lot and it was a lot of trial and error,
I
basically.
did hustle, but I enjoyed the hustle.
Mhm.
I enjoyed the
Mhm.
hustle. What was that bit you said after that?
A lot of trial and error, like you were trying
Absolutely.
different things.
To
Mhm.
this day, to this
Mhm.
moment. always trial and error. And that's why I say is if you're going to go into business, it's hard for a type A. I'm like a type Z, I'm all over the place.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it must be hard for a type A that's very regimented and has a plan and it needs to be this way because it doesn't happen that way. You get thrown balls from all different directions and it's not what you're expecting. You have to adapt fast. So, but what that does then, it gains you so much more experience in all different areas that you never thought about. So if you just keep grabbing all these opportunities, all these I would say mistakes, all these learning things and pack them in and use them. I think that creates just the right mindset and the right drive to run a successful business.
Yes, that's what I was just gonna say, to be successful.
Yeah.
So,
You
before
have to you have to see that. You have to understand that, you really do.
Yeah, for sure. So, before we talk about what I'm so excited to unpack with you, I'm curious, from your perspective, there's probably a lot of service providers that live in that cycle of packed one week and then quiet the next.
Mhm.
And since you're consistently have a solid book, why do you think they're stuck in that cycle?
If you're stuck in that cycle and you're not moving through that cycle, I mean, there could be many different reasons, and that person needs to look at, I'm not moving here. So, I
Mhm.
mean, it could come down to location.
Mhm.
That's a huge thing as well, especially in a small business. But if you're referring to a small, brick and mortar business as well,
Mhm.
location there's so many factors that go into it, Carrie, if you're not moving. It's like I have to look, I do have employees, so I look at their book and like, okay, are we moving? If it's slow, but you're still moving, that's okay. You look at how
Mhm.
you can speed it up. But if
Mhm.
you're not moving and it's getting, I always say this to new estheticians or new business owners or new esthetician, solo esthetician business owners. If it's not moving and you're not getting booked, you've got to pick it apart and you've got to be raw with yourself. Are your treatments good enough? Why are they
Mhm.
not coming back? And
Mhm.
there's a list of things that you wouldn't want to admit if you were to really look at that. You have to be good at what you do and you
Mhm.
have to be vulnerable in that to be able to take that constructive criticism as well. And I think if you're not on board with automation, and learning, social media, text message marketing, email marketing. If you're not on board with that, I hate to say it, I just in this day and age don't know how it would work unless you're okay with just a couple of clients and you
Mhm.
had money just to sit on paying your rent. That's great. But if you're looking to build, you have to evolve. And I think that's where it is. I mean, it's getting to it's just where it is.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. All right, so let's get into the fun part, Black Friday. This is what I wanted to bring you on for because I remember way back when we first started working together, right? Black Friday at that point in time was kind of a promotion. You run this promotion, you get some people in for the next month, the next couple of weeks,
Mhm,
and then back to what you kind of just described. You're back into
mhm,
that grind.
mhm,
You identified that Black Friday could literally fuel essentially your entire year.
mhm.
So, walk us through maybe those beginning Black Fridays and then how you dialed it in. This is the strategy.
Yeah, and because I knew I was coming on here, so I did go back and pull some reports just to kind of see and jog my memory as to, the pattern as to how it went. And, things are different. Each year, things were different with the business, especially living here in Florida, in St. Pete. I mean, and we had COVID and we flooded my house, flooded. We were at there's always seems to be every year a huge, huge challenge that you have to navigate round. And it's almost like this Black Friday that I've really fine tuned is it's kind of bomb proof, like for real. And my biggest year was we got flooded, whole house completely flooded,
You
had to
lost
move
your
out
house.
for eight
Mhm.
months. It was right through Black Friday and Christmas.
Oh
That
my
was
gosh,
my
I didn't even realize it was during Black Friday and Christmas.
Yes, but that's where automation comes in. That's where nobody skips a beat. Nobody knew my like, I'm online, I
Mhm.
got text anyway, I'll tell you about it. So, I think, when I look back, I've been doing Black Friday at this level for 3 years, but looking previous to that, it was kind of like it was stirring into what it is today without me realizing. I'd always throw an event for, spring, and then a back to school event, then it wasn't Black Friday. Yeah, I think it was an open house I'd have at Christmas. That's how it started, an open house. And I would do it at the beginning of December. And that's where I'd do some discounts. So that would be my excuse, an open house. And I would do little events, and then I'd have, sale of the month and stuff like that. And that's a lot of work. Two, it's a very saturated industry and everybody's got sales all the time,
Mhm.
So it kind of just becomes old. They don't look at what sales you've got if you do them every month, because you can go buy stuff off Amazon, you can go do this. So you've got to make it significant.
Mhm.
You have to make it significant. You have to make it so your people are looking forward to the biggest sales of the year.
Like truly the biggest sale, not the,
Truly.
like, quote, unquote, like, "This is our biggest
Yeah.
sale," and then, like you
I
said, it's watered
stumbled
down.
on my Black Friday. We say in England gobsmacked, which means like shocked. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't plan it that way. It was just from 2020, when we're all online and we're all pivoting. And I learned a lot from you too, Carrie. I took everything I learned, and so hold on. So that was 2021, 22. And I'd had an open house, it was pretty successful. And that following year, I'd learned about Black Fridays through, network marketing and stuff like that. And listen, we didn't even have Black Friday in England, I didn't even know what it was.
Oh,
The
it's not a
day after
thing there.
We don't have Thanksgiving. It's supposed to be the
Oh.
day after Thanksgiving, big sat we don't even have Thanksgiving in England, so I didn't really know the significance of it, just sales. So and then with network marketing, they were doing Black Novembers, right? And Black
Mhm.
Friday was starting to bring forward. So I'm like, ooh, why don't I do an event before Black Friday at the studio, my spa? That way I don't have to worry about, sitting at my desk the day after Thanksgiving on a Friday, because I want to be
Mhm.
with my family. Because I used to always go to work on a Black
Mhm.
Friday. So I'm like, why don't I bring it forward? And I think I brought it forward to about the 18th, something like that. It was a Saturday or something like that. I can't remember. And I decided to do a pre-order list, and you had introduced me to Project Broadcast. I really didn't understand it, but I'm like, okay, well, this is ideal.
And for those
So
of
I
you listening, Project Broadcast is text message marketing.
text
Yeah.
message marketing. I have a spa. I have a phone that rings occasionally, but most people just text me on text message marketing. And my girls at the studio, the receptionist and the other estheticians, can see text, so we don't miss any
You don't miss a beat.
calls or we don't miss anything because one of us will
Mhm.
say it. So I decided to do a pre-order list. I sent an email out to everybody with excitement. Black Friday is early, biggest sales of the year, pre-order list coming soon. Stay tuned. I sent that email out not knowing what my sales were, not knowing how I was going to do it. I just wanted to get the word out. Stay tuned. Get excited. It's coming. I'm like, so I got the word out, kept posting stuff, stay tuned, while I worked in the background on what I was going to do.
Yeah, that's
So
genius.
isn't it? I
Yeah.
like, I saw it, and I honestly, like I said, I was going by feeling. My husband goes crazy. He's like, he says to me, "How do you know how long it's gonna take you to get to where you go?" And I'm like, "By feeling." He's like, "Oh my God." I'm
Oh
like
my gosh.
so, I did that, and then I create some badass sales, like I did a gift card tier, spend $50, get $25 free, spend $350, get $100 gift card free, and you could regift the gift card. So then that's bringing new clients in. So my goal for that first one was
Genius.
sell gift cards. Now there is a downfall to gift cards. There's good and there's bad. There's good is that you will bring new clientele in,
Mhm.
and there's bad is that everybody uses them at the beginning of the year. So
That's what I
you
was just
can
gonna say, you get the money up front, but then you're basically
cash
have
flow,
no money as they're using the gift cards.
but that's where you learn every year, you know, that's where you learn it. So then that next year I thought, I'm not gonna do as big a sales with the gift card, but I'm gonna do it more towards services. And then this last year, I did it a little bit different as well. Um And it worked out better. Each year I'm learning.
Mhm.
So, yep, so behind the scenes, I got everything ready. I had an email blast to go out, text message blast to go out. social media all set up, ready to go. And I sat there on the desk, and literally, um, it was go, go, go from the minute. Text, text, ping, 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 and so I was just I had the list, so I was just running cards. So I'd have to, contact them and go through, "Hey, you pre-ordered this, okay to run your card. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes." Bagged everything up. My first so 2023 was my first one, and I think that was 15,000, and it was probably from 10 o'clock to 4 p.m. And that's just as a solo esthetician not knowing what they're doing.
Mhm.
And then that next year, not like, 2024 was, I was flooded. I was out my house. I was literally working through my computer and stuff. And I took in, 20,000 in
Holy crap.
that year, in that just
Mhm.
that one day. And
Mhm.
then this last one, wasn't as good as the one before, just a couple of thousand difference, but, um I did it a little differently completely because really didn't it just after being out your house, you have and, personal situations have an effect on things, but, I decided to not have, anybody come in at all and do it completely remote. So, yeah, so I'm on my 3rd year, and, I mean, that's what I average in a day, but I set it up where I've planned what that cash flow is gonna go toward,
Mhm.
saved some for those gift cards, and then also who that target market was. What was interesting was the members, because I have memberships. Lots of my memberships didn't buy because I'd already catered to them throughout the year with
Mhm.
their discounts. They didn't really have a need to buy. So I
Mhm.
had that solid ground of all those members that I'd built. I've doubled my members every year. So those members were just guaranteed member money coming through every month. So
Mhm.
I had that guaranteed. So I focused last year on building the memberships because they become your core. And then
Mhm.
if they don't buy as much as the new people, then that kind of supports you, kind of through the year. So, and I'm
That's what I was
still
gonna ask
learning.
you, like, you've created this consistent cash flow, basically,
Yeah, and
right? With members.
I'm still
Mhm.
learning. I wasn't expecting that, but when I look at it, I'm like, it's pretty brilliant, really, as a solo esthetician. I'm not a big business,
Mhm.
I'm not a big
Mhm.
business. I'm just a small business. And I've got another esthetician. Um, and you kind of hold back from getting bigger, because it just depends what you want. But, when it works and it's nice, I kind of like it where it's at. But I don't know how I did that. When you look at that, it's pretty kind of crazy, right? Isn't it?
Insane, yeah, I wrote the numbers down, like, I wish I had a calculator right now just to see how much growth that was year after year because that's incredible.
Isn't that crazy? But like I said, I'm still learning, rent still goes up. You have to mess with your prices, and there's a lot involved in, um, the logistics behind the scene. But when you look at that, that's where I need to focus. That's where I need to really perfect that, because then that's kinda like my safeguard.
Mhm.
And then how can I get ahead? How can I kinda see before anybody else does? What can I do a little bit different? Oh, I know. That's what I wanted to tell you is why this year was just a couple of thousand, a little bit less. I think I did it slightly too early last year.
And
Just slight
why do you feel that? Why do you
It was slightly too early. People were just and, you have to look at your demographic. We're in Florida, floods, hurricanes, all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. So it was people were still just getting back into their houses. They were not quite in that holiday mode yet.
Mhm.
You could feel it. And I just did it just a tad early. So I'll learn by that. I will learn by that. I will, for this next one, I don't know what it is yet, but I will, come up with something that somebody else has not come up with yet, and I will get the word out soon, and then I'll drop it at the right time. I don't know what that is, but I'll figure it out.
Alright, I have questions I've written down over here.
Okay.
So, first one being, because you touched on promotions and because I am from the United States and I keep a pulse on marketing, right? And I see all these companies that are constantly throwing a promotion. Our inboxes are inundated with people offering discounts and all the things. And then you have those companies that extend their promotion, right? Oh my gosh, I extended it. And you're just like, seriously? This
Yeah,
is just maybe you didn't make enough money, so it's a marketing ploy to, like,
yeah.
bring in more revenue. So, I'm assuming this is something that your clients look forward to every year. They don't feel like you're, what's the words, pitching to them all year. So this is something, like you said, they're on the edge of their seat. What is she sharing? Would you agree? Like, your clients,
100%.
like, that day, because I think you do it sometimes in person still, right? You do it digitally, but don't you do a little event where they come as well, or no?
Yep, so this last one, I did it as how did I word it? A casual open house or something like that. But I did make it clear you don't have to be in it to win it. Like, you don't have to be there. You can, because I really focused on the digital side, like, because people were so busy, I wanted to focus on, you do not have to attend to be able to maximize the sales and stuff like that. Because you could buy off the website, the text message marketing, the booking system, text message, like, there was so many means of communication, they didn't have to come in. And that was just because of our demographic and what we were going through, is that. But I do an open house is probably the typical way to do it.
Smart,
So
smart. What turns a first-time client into a loyal client? That's a loaded question, but how do you keep these people coming back month after month, doing business with you?
it's customer care. I mean, well,
Customer.
it's a badass facial, but it's customer care from the minute they book that appointment.
Okay.
The minute they book that, I have so if they go on Google or they go on to the website and they book an appointment, I have they'll have an automatic email go out to them, and that's personalized, it's customized. So they've got communication straight away. And then we try and keep the communication as best as we can. From the minute we'll know when they walk in that they're their new client, and obviously the place is really cute, smells good, all that jazz. Um, Perform a really good facial, and then got goodies for when they leave, and then that's where we nurture them after they've left there. So,
Yeah.
um, we'll nurture them.
So what I'm hearing is, right, momentum is great, right? All of this momentum, having this
Mhm.
cash flow, but if you don't have the system in place to handle all that influx, it honestly could make or break your business, right? At the
100%.
end of the
You
day.
have to have, yeah, and I'm always working on refining all of that, always. And when we put our heads together with my receptionist and my other esthetician, I'm like, "What's not working? What's not feeling right? What's not working? We need to refine this." And I made an adjustment to our membership tier the other day, and I'm super happy with that. It feels so good. But you have to be constantly evolving. You can't stagnate. Not in my industry that's so saturated, you have to keep spicy, and it doesn't always mean sales.
Mhm,
Doesn't
mhm.
always mean sales, it just means keeping things spicy, change things up, because if the foundation is all there, you can really play with that without having to give things away all the time.
100%. I feel like we're on the same wavelength here because my last question that I was going to ask you is, what do you think that estheticians or service providers get wrong when it comes to promotions?
Running too many promotions is probably one of them. They become stale and you just end up not looking at them. They become not sales. If you're just constantly doing sales, they just become your prices. Keeping relevant,
Mhm.
and not keeping visual. No, I'm not going to say I'm not knowing what you're doing, because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm not going to discriminate that way. But yeah, definitely doing too many sales, having communication, consistent communication and customer care. I think that's it. Really the biggest things.
I love it. All right. So, ending on this note, what is one thing that you want people to remember about your business, about Peak Bloom? What are we remembering? What are we thinking of if we want to think about your spa versus another? What's that one thing?
I think, for me, it's become more than facials for me. We get a lot of men in, but it's the women on the journey of aging that is not easy. It never will be. And I think the beauty industry has had a lot of corruption to us, and it's not. We need support not just with our appearance, but mentally as well. So I've created this environment that people can't wait to go to. They're taking the hour out their day, which is not easy. I don't know about you, but me taking an hour out my day is not easy. And they look forward to coming into this safe space where they feel so important and they feel good for taking that time out for themselves, re-energized, reset, ready to take on the world. And it's their moment. And I like to be part of that.
Mhm.
So yeah, to have them living at their peak. There you go.
They feel good, not guilty, because, something you just said, I can relate to. Like, it is very hard not only to carve out an hour, but there are times where I've indulged in a massage or a facial, and
It's hard
I
to
feel
relax.
guilty. Like, I almost feel guilty that
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah. So, yeah, I've definitely worked hard on, helping that person not feel that way in the room, because it's nothing worse than if you on the table and you wanna get off. So, it has to be right from the moment they walk in. It has to be spot on. Otherwise, it's painful, If anxiety
Mhm,
kicks in and they're in a quiet space, and they've got things to do out there and they're not
mhm,
relaxed, then so it's
100%.
important. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come and hang out and unpack and share a little bit about the promotions that you run, how they've positively impacted your business, how they are continue to be a revenue driver for your business moving forward. Because I had the opportunity to watch everything evolve over the past
Mhm.
couple
Yeah,
years. Right, those times where you, I don't listen. I don't think you were ever struggling. You always had the full book, but now, like you said, you've expanded that to an entire team, to running multiple rooms, to having a receptionist. What
yeah.
you're building and what you're
No, you do
continue to
yeah,
build,
it's
it's
always
incredible.
always learning, always refining, this is good doing this because it's good for me to kinda talk about it, and, it's definitely getting more refined. It's definitely getting more refined, and, I like the feeling of that. It's been a long time coming, a long time learning. It's just about, really these last few months pulled everything together to clean it up, refine it, and then now I need to decide what I'm gonna do with that and, really get out there, so I'm on that journey now.
Well, I'm so stinking proud of you, and I'm gonna leave below in the show notes your information where they can go ahead and connect with you, where they can book one of your epic facials. If anyone listening is local to the St. Pete area, I
Yep.
still have yet to get a Sophie Bell facial. Maybe in 2026, I'll make it
Well, you live
happen.
too far away.
I know, I know.
Well, that's one
Alright,
thing
girl.
you can't do. I can't do a virtual facial, Well, I could, but,
You
yeah, it's
never
just not
know.
the same,
You
so
never know, might be something of the future.
yeah, I'm sure it is, I'm sure.
What I hope you heard today is this: one strategic promotion built right is worth more than 12 months of discounts. Restraint builds anticipation, anticipation builds demand, and demand builds revenue. So if you've been running sales all year and wondering why nothing lands, Sophie just showed you a different way. Go connect with her. We'll link everything in the show notes. And if you're serious about building something that actually holds, make sure you're following the show. New episodes drop every Thursday.